Free agent frenzy also dabbling in trade center today as Phil Kessel, long discussed, has happened, is now a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, there may be more to this deal, but what we know right now is Toronto gets back Kasperi Kapanen, Sammy's boy, who was the 22nd overall pick in 2014. Scott Harrington, you might remember him. He was terrific for Team Canada at the World Juniors in 2012. And a first-round pick. Not sure of the year of that first-round pick, if it's next year or the year after. But considering that at some points during the season, people were saying, get rid of Phil Kessel no matter what, is this good enough return? Again, not knowing if there's more to the deal at this point. O-Dog, you just joined us. You were one of the big proponents of getting Phil Kessel out of Toronto. What do you think of the trade?
I don't think he's using the terminology getting him out of Toronto. I did not run Phil Kessel out of town.
No, but you thought a trade was a good thing. That's all
I think it's best for both parties. As far as Phil Kessel, he gets the opportunity to go to Pittsburgh and play with an elite centerman, whether that's Crosby or Malkin. And Toronto Maple Leaf fans, don't be surprised if this guy scores 40 or 50 goals next year, because he's going to get the puck in places that Tyler Bozak, as crafty a player he is, that's just not capable for Tyler Bozak. And as far as the Toronto Maple Leafs, we talked about their core group. It's just not good enough. And Phil Kessel, you talk to a lot of people in hockey, they'll say a fantastic talent, but it's very difficult to win with him. You saw that with the Boston Bruins. They decided to move him out and they won afterwards, so everybody wins here.
And again, I just want to clarify, the insiders are still working on this. There is potential that there is more to this deal than what we've seen right there. Craig Button, who watches junior hockey as much as anybody, tell us about the guys coming back the other way in Kasperi Kapanen and Scott Harrington.
Well, I'll start with Kasperi Kapanen. I mean, he was a very promising player going into his draft year, but very uneven in his...
Hold on, we just lost your mic, Craig. Let's work on restoring Craig's mic, and we'll get that back. Or you can come and lean into my breast. We'll work on Craig's mic and get it right back, right there. But it's... The first-round pick is interesting, too. I think some people would have said at some point, you get a first-round pick for Phil Kessel, considering the contract.
You have to be wondering. Now, let's talk about it from the Pittsburgh side of things first. They traded a first-round pick this year without lottery protection to the Edmonton Oilers for David Perron. That didn't work out. They traded a first-round pick plus another first-round pick, Kasperi Kapanen, plus last year traded another first-round pick in Simon Dupre to get Ben Lovejoy. They're running out of assets. Yeah. Their window is now.
Well, you could tell the window. It's like we have Crosby and Malkin for 3 more years in their prime. You have to do something.
They better do something, because now they are basically out of assets.
So it's pretty obvious what Toronto's trying to acquire here. So they draft Mitch Marner. They have William Nylander. Kasperi Kapanen is, and watching him as we did at the World Juniors, he's has a very European style to his game. He's a lot of east-west. He likes to come over the blue line. He likes to set up to shop, to shoot the puck at the top of the circle. He's going to have to learn the North American drive to the net, but a highly skilled player with a very good shot. So they're acquiring skill. That's what the Maple Leafs are very clearly trying to put in their cupboard, is skill player after skill player after skill player. They're not all going to work. And so if you have enough of them, then you hit on a few of them. So Kapanen goes alongside a Nylander, goes alongside a Marner. They're not physical, but they're highly skilled. And that becomes there's a risk to acquiring unproven young players, but it balances if you want to move that contract to Kessel's, which I think they probably had to do.
Scott Harrington, for the record, was a standout defenseman with the London Knights, and again was terrific with Team Canada. Has been playing with Wilkes-Barre Scranton, Pittsburgh's AHL affiliate last year. 24 points in 76 games for Scott Harrington there. Let's get more from Gordon Miller.
Well, I'll just be the conduit here and pass it on to Bob McKenzie, who has, I believe, the details of the Kessel trade. Bob?
Yes, some of them. Pittsburgh Penguins have traded Nick Spaulding, Kasperi Kapanen, Scott Harrington, and 2 picks. One of them to believe to be a first-round pick to the Toronto Maple Leafs in exchange for Phil Kessel. And there are 2 other players involved. I don't believe they're roster players from the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're simply contracts that get moved back. We don't have the identity of those yet, being sent back to the Pittsburgh Penguins as part of this deal. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are eating an unspecified amount.
15%.
15% of...
$1.2 million per.
$1.2 million per of his $8 million. So there you have it. Just a review.
7 years.
Phil Kessel.
Yeah, 7 years, yeah.
Phil Kessel. A couple of contract players that are not on the Toronto Maple Leaf roster. and 15% of Phil Kessel's salary over the remaining 7 years of his contract, so $1.25 million per year, Toronto Elite, for Nick Spaulding, Kasperi Kapanen, Scott Harrington, and 2 draft picks, and one of them is a first-rounder.
Kessel's now former teammate, Toronto Maple Leafs captain Dion Phaneuf joins us on the line. Where were you when you heard about the deal?
I was actually fishing. I was out on my boat fishing, and I was extremely surprised, as I think a lot of people were. But I have nothing but really good things to say about Phil. We were very good friends, and it's a tough day when you lose a teammate, especially one that you're a real good friend with. It's a difficult part of the business, but it is a business, and I understand that I've been in it for a while now, and I wish Phil nothing but the best. And we knew that there was going to be changes with the way that things finished up last year, and this is one of many changes that have been made. So I wish Phil nothing but the best, and it was definitely a day of mixed emotions for me.
Brendan Shanahan restated in his news conference that they evaluated all year and the core of this team was not good enough. Obviously, you're part of the core of this team. What do you think happens to you? Do you expect to be a Leaf in the fall?
I'm preparing to come back to camp, ready to play. And I got asked that when we signed Mike as the head coach of our team, and I'm excited about the opportunity to work for him. And that's how I'm preparing over the summer, is to come to camp and be ready and to be focused and give everything that I have for our team. And that hasn't changed.
Mike Babcock has said that he likes you as a player. And there's been a lot of people saying, what could Mike Babcock do with Dion Phaneuf? What do you think's the answer to that question? Well,
I've had some good conversations with Mike, and I'm just excited to work for him. He's won at every level. He's done a lot of real good things in the National Hockey League. You look at when he was in Detroit, the success that they had. They were a very consistent team, and I want to learn as much as I possibly can from him. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity of playing for him, and I think it was a real big step when we got him as our head coach to coach our team.
Do you worry at all? I mean, you want to win in this league, and you've been around a long time, and you see the transactions that are happening. It's clearly a rebuild. It's potential coming back. It's future talent coming back. Are you worried about looking around you in the fall, if you still are a Toronto Maple Leaf, and saying, man, how am I going to win? I'm
committed to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and when I signed for 7 years, I want to win in Toronto. And obviously, with the way that things are going with our organization in the form of a rebuild, that's part of the business. But I'm fully committed to that, and I want to do everything that I can help our team win. And obviously, when we're going younger and we are going through a rebuild, there's going to be times where there's it's going to be tough times, but I'm going to be part of that. I look forward to the challenge of that, and that starts this fall.
Dion, thanks for joining us. Hope the fish were biting.
Yeah, I got a few. So you guys have a good rest of your day there, and thanks for having me.
All right, that's the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Dion Phaneuf.
That they had. They were a very consistent team, and I want to learn as much as I possibly can from them. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity of playing for him, and I think it was a real big step when we got him as our head coach to coach our team.
Do you worry at all? I mean, you want to win in this league. You've been around a long time, and you see the transactions that are happening. It's clearly a rebuild. It's potential coming back. It's future talent coming back. Are you worried about looking around you in the fall, if you still are a Toronto Maple Leaf, and
lose a teammate, especially one that you're a real good friend with? It's a difficult part of the business, but it is a business, and I understand that I've been in it for a while now, and I wish Phil nothing but the best. And we knew that there was going to be changes with the way that things finished up last year, and this is one of many changes that have been made. So I wish Phil nothing but the best, and it was definitely a day of mixed emotions for me.
Brendan Shanahan restated in his news. Kessel's now former teammate, Toronto Maple Leafs captain Dion Phaneuf joins us on the line. Where were you when you heard about the deal?
I was actually fishing. I was out on my boat fishing, and I was extremely surprised, as I think a lot of people were. But I have nothing but really good things to say about Phil. We were very good friends, and it's a tough day when you lose and give everything that I have for our team, and that hasn't changed.
Mike Babcock has said that he likes you as a player, and there's been a lot of people saying, what could Mike Babcock do with Dion Phaneuf? What do you think's the answer to that question?
Well, I've had some good conversations with Mike, and I'm just excited to work for him. He's won at every level. He's done a lot of real good things in the National Hockey League. You look at when he was in Detroit, the success.
Conference that they evaluated all year, and the core of this team was not good enough. Obviously, you're part of the core of this team. What do you think happens to you? Do you expect to be a Leaf in the fall?
I'm preparing to come back to camp, ready to play. And I got asked that when we signed Mike as the head coach of our team, and I'm excited about the opportunity to work for him. And that's how I'm preparing over the summer, is to come to camp and be ready and to be focused.
Elliot Friedman is part of the lead here on Tim and Sid. Friedge, take a seat at our chair, and let's talk about what the Toronto Maple Leafs did, among others. We're going to get to the Edmonton Oilers. We're going to get to the Calgary Flames. But the Leafs started the rumor boat with some news off of a couple Twitter accounts that they were in serious talks with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I'm hearing that we're going to talk to Jim Rutherford in a flash right here on the show. But Elliot, how surprised were you that the Leafs and Penguins were able to consummate today with Kessel going to the Pens?
Well, first of all, full credit to Kipper, who was the guy who was on this from the beginning. Secondly, I mean, we'd heard at the draft, there was some pretty serious conversations going on, and there were a lot of rumors going around about the names that were going to be exchanged. We kind of heard that it died down. Pittsburgh made a pitch yesterday for Brandon Sutter, who got traded from Chicago to Columbus. He's a local Pittsburgh guy, and they tried to go get him. And after they failed, he went to the Blue Jackets. They circled back around to the Maple Leafs and made another offer. And obviously, it got done today. I mean, when you take a look at everything that comes in this deal, including all of the conditions on the draft picks, this was not a deal that was put together in 5 minutes. This was pretty complex.
For those wrapped up in the Jays for the last 2.5–3.5 hours for each, the conditions on those picks, just what are they again?
Well, basically, you see, okay, so let's keep the screen up.
Right.
Like that 2016 first-round draft pick, that's protected.
Okay.
If the Penguins do not make the playoffs last year, the pick moves back down to 2017. That's the most important thing.
This upcoming season?
Yeah, that's the most important thing people need to know. That first-round draft pick is protected next year in case the Penguins miss the playoffs. If they do, and I think that would be unlikely, the pick would move back a year.
We're going to get into how important this is for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
And also, by the way, the Maple Leafs are keeping 15% of Kessel's contract for the next 7 years.
Was that part of the holdup over the weekend? Was that an issue?
I think it was one of the things they debated. The Maple Leafs were kind of adamant for a time that they would rather take back a contract than eat money. But I guess at the end, if you take a look at some of the, one of the contracts that was being discussed was Rob Scuderi's, who's got some time left on Pittsburgh. Toronto doesn't take that contract back, ergo Toronto eats money.
It's funny because from what I heard of the deal that was being talked about or bandied about at the draft to this deal, it's pretty different. Same thing that you were hearing?
The one thing I'd heard is that one of the names we were hearing at that draft was Chris Kunitz.
Right.
And one of the things that someone said to me was Kunitz was never discussed. So I don't think that one at the draft was, and also another name being talked about at the draft was Derek Pouliot, and that was not in this deal. So if that was even on the table, it's obviously not what happened today.
So what now with Brendan Shanahan and the 8 other assistant GMs? What's the next domino to fall?
Well, I think, I believe they're going to keep Phaneuf, but who knows? I mean, it all comes down to how serious the interest is for some of these guys. I believe that they were going to keep Phaneuf. I believe that was the plan, that Mike Babcock, who was in Detroit last year when they nearly got him, would like to have Dion Phaneuf play for him. There have been a lot of rumors about Bozak. See, if you know Mike Babcock, he believes that you have to be good down the middle and you have to be good on the blue line. And so I wouldn't be, if someone told me that Babcock wanted to coach Bozak for a year, I wouldn't be surprised at that. But I think that one can go either way. I think one thing that we've learned over the past 2 days is just when you think you know, you don't know anything. Nobody saw Brandon Sutter getting dealt. He got dealt. Yeah. I think the Kessel had kind of died down. He got dealt, and it caught a lot of people flat-footed today.
If anyone was wondering if the Leafs weren't going to tear it down, is this the signal that they are tearing it down, or is there still some middling here? Because some of those guys that they would trade to tear it down, Friedge, are let's face it, at an all-time low on the trade market.
I think that's part of the problem. Like, Joffrey Lupul, the issue is if Joffrey Lupul could stay a lot healthier, they could trade him very easily. Right. But because you know what, you find a guy who got 60 points as he did a couple of years ago, they're easily going to make a lot more than what Joffrey Lupul is making now. The issue is, of course, the health. Bozak, like a lot of other guys, had a really rough year last year. I just think it comes down to if the Maple Leafs want to trade some of these players for a lot less than a dollar, right, they could do it very easily. But you're in a market where if you make a bad trade, you get destroyed. And I don't think this regime wants to go into its first full year and get destroyed.
Breaker of the news.
Nick Kypreos broke this today, and people at home are going, oh, I don't care who broke it. We care who broke it. It was Kemper right here. It's been a couple hours since.
Yeah.
What do you make of it?
It's the big one. No question that I don't even think we saw a trade of this significance at trade deadline. Did we? Was there a big one bigger than this one all year?
Let me look up this.
So
if you have to think about it, the answer is no.
Well, I mean, the only one that would really be close, just because it sort of came out of nowhere, was Brandon Sutter last night. Like we've had two, but for fans in Canada,
$56 million still left.
That's the biggest.
That's moving. Yeah. The fact that Pittsburgh feels like they needed this guy bad. Sid's always said quietly, I don't really have someone to play with.
Not this dude.
Not this dude. They can say all they want in Pitt that right now it looks like they want to play him with Malkin. Sid will decide that. I would believe that Sid would get first crack at him.
I will tell you this. Last week at the draft, when the Kessel rumors were really out there, one of the things I had heard, Nick, was that Hornquist was going to play with Sid and Kessel was going to play with Malkin.
Yeah.
That was one of the things they were kind of talking about.
Except behind the scenes, everybody knows that Sid's been pushing real hard to get a goal scorer that he could play with. So we'll see how this thing plays out.
Pretty good with Hornquist.
I can also tell you that this was a tough trade within the Pittsburgh organization. A lot of people said, don't touch Phil Kessel, and others said, we need him bad. So the ones that wanted him won this deal.
We haven't taken a break yet, so we got to get one of those in there. But I got to ask, is there a name out there or even a deal outside of free agency that you're going, this still might come down there, we got to keep an eye on blank?
Bolesky.
Yeah. Joel Ward.
My understanding was Bolesky met with the Leafs. I think he met with Montreal.
I think Montreal made him an offer today, Nick.
He's out there still.
4 years, 4.5, something like that.
That seems about right.
That's
but
about
another team is the Boston Bruins. We've seen them shed some payroll. My understanding is that they had interest. Florida Panthers quietly have been pushing hard for Bolesky as well. So that seems to be the name that's out there right now.
And bearing the lead is that Tyler Bozak needs a new roommate in all this.
It's so lonely.
He has such a nice pool table. How are they going to use it? Fantastic job, Kevin.
Thanks.
Holy horse, boys. I'm done with this bullshit franchise known as the Toronto Maple Leafs. I just wanted to wake up today and have a good Canada day, have some beers, make some videos, have some fun, right? But I turn on NHL.com, and the Toronto Maple Leafs have traded Phil Kessel, my favorite Leaf, to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Oh, great. So this is what I get for being a loyal Maple Leaf fan. What the fuck's the point, man? I think I'm done. In fact, I know I'm done. I'm becoming a Montreal Canadian fan or an Ottawa Senator fan or a fucking Edmonton Oiler fan, whatever, man. Anything's better than the goddamn Toronto Maple Leaf evil empire management that they have going over there. Look what happened this year. We have a shittier product that for some fucking reason has gotten worse over the years. They take away the best panel for the intermissions in the TSN panel, give us Strombo and these other hacks. Don Cherry's being cut off by this Twitter chick who gives us bullshit statistics. Our hockey's being ruined. They charge us up the ass for tickets and jerseys. What the fuck? You think I'm gonna spend $150 on a goddamn Kasperi Kapanen jersey? Find a fucking game, assholes! And now this fucking game's not working? Holy shit. My Canada Day is ruined. Phil Kessel gone. All right, calm down. I'm going to send him off in the right way. But honestly, man, what's the point of being a Toronto Maple Leaf fan? We didn't even get anything back. I'm hoping that I'm wrong there. And this guy's going with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Great, fucking great. Phil Kessel, get in here. You're going to take the first shot. There you go. And Jim Reimer, you're getting in the net as well. All right? I'll talk about the trade a little bit afterwards, boys, but I got to rant right now just because, when I was Matt Sundin, he was my favorite Leaf player. You know, we made him feel like shit. We shipped him out of Toronto. Got nothing back for him. Now, Phil Kessel, my favorite Leaf, he's being shipped out, getting nothing back for him, and everyone's making it seem like he's the problem. Please, watch him have 50 fucking goals playing alongside of Sidney Crosby or Malkin next year. He's going to get energy actually playing on a team that can make it into the playoffs, not this bullshit franchise north of the border that has not got anything done for 50 fucking years, and yet you still charge us up the okay. Calm down. Holy shit, boys, I'm pissed. I'm very pissed. I knew the trade was coming. Get the fuck out of here, Crosby. I knew the trade was coming, but you know what, man? We just did not get anything back. We really didn't. And we also retained the salary. I was watching something on, I think it was TSN. They made a funny joke. It was like, the Toronto Maple Leafs traded away their best player and had to retain salary on him. That's how bad it is here in Toronto with our contracts and our players. So Phil Kessel, man, I appreciate the time that you had here. Let's see if I can send him out in style. A wrist shot off the rush off the right side. Blocker, baby. Blocker. Fuck no! And that summarizes Phil Kessel's career here in Toronto. Marc-Andre Fleury, he wouldn't move for Phil. For fuck's sake, Phil. Well, you know what, Phil? I still appreciate what you did here. Fuck everyone else. You're still a top-notch player, and I want to see you get 50 next year, man. Get the hell out of here, Evgeni Malkin. My beef is with management, man. I understand why they wanted to trade him away. You know, you don't want the Schneider-Luongo thing that happened a few years ago. Get him out quickly, but you get nothing back. And when you go back and look at what we did, hang on, what do I want to do? You know, fuck it, I don't even want to do a shootout. Take a fucking shot. If you go back and you look at the Brian Burke trade for Phil Kessel in the first place, right? 7 years ago, whenever it was. That was supposed to be the start of our rebuild. Trade away Phil Kessel for 2 firsts, all right? Those 2 firsts ended up being Tyler Seguin. Get the fuck out of here! Yeah, you can't score with your own head, idiot. Those 2 firsts ended up being Tyler Seguin and Dougie Hamilton. I know there was a second in there, right? But somebody in the comments section, just write it out so everyone can see it as well. It ended up being Tyler Seguin, Dougie Hamilton for Kasperi Kapanen, Scott Harrington, Nick Spaulding, a conditional first, and a third. That's basically what it all ended up being. And 6 years of fucking failure. It didn't. Oh my God. And we're handicapped for the next 7 years with 1.2 retained from Kessel's contract. I know we probably won't be a cap team. We'll be shit for the next decade, right? But fuck, man. We should have just started the rebuild 10 years ago. God damn it, Brian Burke, you fucking idiot. Holy shit, now he goes off to Calgary and turns them into a beast. Well, thank you for... Fuck! Oh, you know what? I'm not in the right mood to be taking good shots here, boys. I'm sorry. All right, let this shootout be over. The Toronto Maple Leafs deserve to fucking lose. They're garbage. They're fucking garbage. Get the fuck out of here. Holy shit. Might as well trade away JVR now. The guy's a pigeon. With Phil Kessel gone, he's not going to get any points. That's the only reason he got points last year. 15 goals, 30 assists. And Phil Kessel's an Iron Man as well. Pittsburgh, you're going to love that. The guy won't get injured. Lupul, here we go. We'll just do the Joffrey Lupul move. There you go. Oh, it went in. I want this shootout to be over, man. I want to talk about the trade a little bit. I wrote down some stats for you guys, but Jesus Christ. Oh, what a waste, man. What a waste of 7 years. What a waste of Phil Kessel's talents as well. Jesus, man. He accomplished nothing in Toronto. I guarantee you. You're going to have all the negative comments saying, oh, he doesn't try, he does blah, 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 blah. But just watch him in Pittsburgh, all right? Just fucking watch him. Roman Polak, let's try to get that kick-in goal that we got before. Here we go. Here we go. Boom, baby. Oh, that wasn't it. Yeah, I desperately want to get this shootout over with. I'm done with this shit. Go. Just score, Dupuis. Go ahead. Just score, Dupuis. There you go. He still ran into me. Yeah, very good. Yeah, do the Foligno hop. Fuck it. The Toronto Maple Leafs deserve to lose. Get the fucking puck in the corner. All right? Boys, I'm pissed off. I don't even want to do a shootout commentary. But let's talk about this trade a little bit. Just because I suppose it is a mega deal, and a lot of Pittsburgh Penguin fans are absolutely loving this. You should be anyways. So Phil Kessel was traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins. We retained $1.2 million of his salary. So he was an $8 million player on the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's only going to be a $6.8 million or $6.75 million player on the Pittsburgh Penguins, which is very worth it for a guy like Phil Kessel. Just wait until he gets 50 goals playing alongside of Crosby or Malkin. You can then reflip him for more players, right? We also traded a conditional second-round pick, Tim Erickson and Tyler Biggs. Tyler Biggs was a flop. Erickson, yeah, all right. Maybe he could have been somebody for us with Babcock, but maybe not. A conditional second. And coming back to the Toronto Maple Leafs, Scott Harrington, Kasperi Kapanen, Nick Spaulding, a conditional first in next year's draft, and a third-round pick in next year's draft. Okay, so first of all, Scott Harrington, he's only played 10 NHL games this year. He was a second-round pick from 2011, but, you know, I was reading up on him. Some people were saying at best he would be a top 4 defenseman, all right? So, okay, fine. The next guy, Kasperi Kapanen. Now, he hasn't played in the NHL yet, but he was drafted in 2014, 22nd overall. So he's a former first-round pick, drafted last year, right? So I'm hoping that this guy has a high potential. But again, I was watching people talk about him, and the TSN analyst said that potentially maybe a third-line goal scorer. So nobody, you know, like a top-notch prospect here. Nick Spaulding, he's 26 years old, and I guess he'll be the roster replacement for Phil Kessel. On a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins, I guess he would be a top 6 forward or maybe a third or fourth liner, right? On a really good team. On the Toronto Maple Leafs, he's going to be a first or second liner. I guess he's got good size and he should be fine for us, right? He's not the problem. So I guess we got Harrington and Kapanen for Kessel from the prospect side of it. And we also got the conditional first if they make the playoffs, which they should. We'll get the first and a third. All right, so, but you know, if they make the playoffs, it's going to be a deep first-round pick. And the third, it's just, God damn it, you didn't get anyone, like any studs. You didn't get any, like a Dougie Hamilton, right? Or a Ryan O'Reilly. You didn't get anybody who's established. These guys still have to prove themselves. The draft picks could be flops, right? You know Phil Kessel's a world-class goal scorer, and what we got back from him, they all could end up being nothing, right? And if that happens, holy shit, that's horrible. So, you know, Pittsburgh, I think, definitely won this trade. Phil Kessel, he's a world-class goal-scoring winger. The downside of Phil, I guess, would be his compete level, quote-unquote, his compete level. But you know what? I'm gonna stay on the side of Phil Kessel just wasn't a fit here in Toronto. The media just ate him alive. He's more of a low-key guy, and maybe on the Pittsburgh Penguins, that change of scenery will be exactly what he needs, and he turns out to be an absolute stud. 50 goals, 50 assists, playing alongside of Crosby and Malkin. And also, Pittsburgh, it's something underrated about Kessel. Maybe some people won't agree with me when I say this, but, you know, he's an Iron Man. He's not going to get injured, and he's also a proven solid playoff performer. I know he's only been in the playoffs 3 times, right? But the years that he actually made it in, he's got 22 games played. He's got 21 points in those 22 games played, and he's a plus 11. When the Toronto Maple Leafs lost to the Boston Bruins in Game 7 of that playoff run, Phil Kessel was not the problem at all. He performed in those playoffs. He had a big Game 6. He had a few assists in 1 assist or 2 assists in Game 7. He showed up, man. He also had a breakaway goal in Game number 2, which helped us win, right? He showed up in the playoffs, so that's what you guys need. You guys need playoff performers, and he could be that perfect winger for you guys, all right? So I think the Pittsburgh Penguins definitely won this deal. As a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, I'm disgusted knowing that the next 5 years I have to endure more shitty Leaf hockey. So thank you very much, management. Are you guys going to be lowering ticket prices? Are you going to be lowering jersey prices, anything like that, to accommodate us for enduring these shitty seasons? Fuck no. We're going to have to still pay full price for this shit product they put out every year. So, boys, I'm angry, but you know what? I'm not surprised. Phil Kessel, thank you for your time, and best of luck in Pittsburgh.
Dude, I got the best idea for a Kessel video. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. If it's a list of hot dog jokes, get out of my face. You're in a mood. Shut up. All right, here's what we're gonna do. Here's this team. All right, so there's a lot going on in the free agency market. The Leafs made a bunch of moves. Not gonna talk about any of them. We're gonna do that in a few days when all the dust settles. Right now, it's all about one thing and one thing only. Phil Kessel. And the Phil Kessel trade, which sends him to the Pittsburgh. Phil Kessel's a Pittsburgh Penguin! All right, okay. We're gonna... I'm upset. Obviously. Here's the thing. Oh, does Steve not think the Leafs got enough in the trade? What does Steve think of the trade? Screw the trade! Believe it or not, the trade is not what's important right now. Do you know what's important? The number 6. 6 is the number of seasons Phil Kessel was a Toronto Maple Leaf. 6 is the amount of consecutive times Kessel was the leading scorer on the Toronto Maple Leafs. 6 is the amount of points Kessel was the leader by in his first season as a Leaf. Despite missing the first 12 games of the season recovering from shoulder surgery, and the next leading scorer was a defenseman, and 6 plus 1 is the amount of years that the Leafs have to retain $1.2 million of Phil Kessel's salary. $1.2 million, by the way, is $600,000 times 2. This trade, what this means, forget whether the return was good, fair, or a bust. What this trade means is an era wasted. Someone tweeted this at me. Look at this. Look at all of this. For what? Listen, Brian Burke got fired. All right, you could call that the end of whatever era. Not necessarily true. An NHL GM gets fired, their work lives on. Hell, the Chicago Blackhawks fired their GM and willy-nilly started a dynasty. Really, I gotta stop bringing up the Chicago Blackhawks. Like, what they do is something my team could ever attain. And I'm doing some yelling and screaming, and I'm gonna be doing some yelling and screaming about the Leafs management, and it's not necessarily this Leafs management. That wouldn't be fair. But most of my childhood was spent begging for a proper winger for Matt Sundin, and the entire Phil Kessel era was spent without a proper number 1 center for him. Oh, he's fat. He's got a bad attitude. He's lazy. He's this. He's that. Look at the players around him, stupid! Let's pretend Phil Kessel is all those things. He is fat. He is lazy. He is a jerk, and he doesn't care about anything. He was the Leafs' best player for 6 years! How many fat, lazy, bad attitude players get to be the best player on their team for 6 years? It's almost like he wasn't the problem! And here we are this summer, 2015, and we're doing what? We're sitting here in the middle of a Leaf rebuild, which is a good thing and the right thing to do. But what are we also waiting on? Like, what am I checking Twitter for as I'm shooting this video? That's right, trades! Trades for what? Who's getting traded? Let me see, who are we? Oh, that's right, every long-term contract Dave Notice ever signed! People are getting mad about this trade. What a small thing to be upset about in this scenario. First-round picks, those come and go. Blue-chip prospects, those come and go. Even elite scoring wingers, those come and go. What you cannot get me back is 6 years of cheering for this dog pile. And what I can't get is a brain smart enough to stop doing it. And the Leafs are taking advantage of that. How dare you? We're gonna, okay. I had to get that out. I had to get that out. I had to come out. I had to leave. I had to get back down to earth. I had to get back to where I was. I had to get back to normal. What's normal? You know, normal is the Leafs being terrible. No. 6 years, man. Six over half a decade. I mean, we've been making fun of the Boston Bruins all week for getting young talent, having them for like 3 years, and then trading them. But at least they do the first 2 parts! And here's the other problem I'm dealing with. I agree with so much of what the Leafs' current management group has done. Almost all of it, frankly. And I'm sitting here doing 2 things. 1, waiting for them to do something monumentally stupid, because it's just what I've been programmed to do, guys. And 2, hoping they do something stupid, because I just don't think I could handle the heartbreak of fully putting my faith in them and then they screw it all up. Hey man, they just got here. Give them a chance. I gave the last guys a chance. And the ones before that, and before that, and before that. Holy Jeff Finger. So it's supposed to be about the present. It's supposed to be about the future. It's supposed to be about moving forward, but I can't help but be pissed off of 6 years wasted. Oh, but what about that one time they made the playoffs? The way it ended, I felt worse than in the years where they missed the playoffs entirely. Like, look at this. Look at this. Look at friggin'. Look at this. Look at the. Sorry, Don. Look at this. Look at the savior of the franchise. No, collector's item. Why would I throw it on the floor then? You know what I just realized is every time we host a party, my buddy Andy likes to come in here and like flip the toys over and turn down the pucks. Thanks, Andy! I'm not going through a hard time right now! Oh look, he turned over my cup! That's the most cup movement we've seen in the greater Toronto area in the last 50 years! Ah! Here, Kasperi Kapanen is supposed to be pretty good. And Scott Harrington may turn out to be quite good. The ceiling is not supposed to be that high, but I mean, legitimate NHL player. Top 4 defenseman, that would be lovely. Nick Spalling could be a nice stopgap. The 1st and 3rd round pick, although conditional, will probably end up being just that, a 1st and 3rd round pick. And I mean, the Leafs also got to dump contracts like Tim Erickson and 1st round pick Tyler Biggs. 1st round pick Tyler Biggs. Tyler Biggs. A lot of people hate this deal. I don't hate it. I don't love it either. I think it'd be a fine trade, maybe even with the retained salary if the Leafs didn't have to give up that second-round pick. Or even if they swapped, I could forgive the Leafs for doing one of those things. I don't like the fact that they had to do both. I mean, the Leafs are probably going to suck next year, and the Penguins are probably going to be pretty good. So the Leafs get the Penguins first, the Penguins get the Leafs second. So you're basically just moving up a few spots in the draft. Like sometimes with the draft, we get so caught up in first round, second round, third round. No, they're moving up a few slots, probably 10 at the most. So if you look at it as the Leafs moving up 5 to 10 slots and getting a third, it's not quite as appealing. All I know is this about all the cap space the Leafs just freed up. Go ahead and win your cup this year, Tampa. You might want to giddy up on that, just saying. Pittsburgh Penguins fans, here is my honest opinion of Phil Kessel. He's got me blocked on Twitter, and I met him briefly once in person to the point where we didn't even exchange names. I do not know Phil Kessel, so I will not pretend to know Phil Kessel. I know what I've seen on the ice. You are getting a player who has not missed an NHL game since returning from shoulder surgery in 2009. He is automatically one of the fastest players on your team, if not the fastest. Although, I mean, Sidney Crosby, right? He might even have the best shot in your team as well. And yes, I remember the whole Crosby thing and Malkin thing. Don't use him in the shootout. He's not very good at those. And part of the reason for that is he doesn't really have a whole lot of options in his arsenal. You don't see him try to deke the goalie very often. You rarely see him take a backhand, and I can't remember the last time he took a slap shot. All he's got is one of the nastiest wristers and snappers in the entire league. So maybe not in the shootout, but during actual play, he's pretty damn good. Woe is you. Many blindly label him as bad defensively and lazy and lackadaisical, and many blindly defend him for being none of those things. Both of those groups of people are wrong. Kessel is a great damn player, and yeah, sometimes he takes a shift off. I mean, guys, you don't watch him? And I want to say, well, yeah, a lot of the forwards Kessel played with weren't that great defensively either. Meanwhile, he's going to Pittsburgh, and I would say that's probably their number one issue, isn't it? Difference being, instead of worrying about Tyler Bozak down the middle, you're worrying about Crosby or Malkin. You can even put him on the third line because it's funny, and why not have an Olympian on every line? You're getting one of the best goal scorers in the league. In a catastrophically bad season for him personally, on a catastrophically bad team, he scored 25 goals. If you got a player who's disappointed with 25 goals, you probably got a good player. To go with those disappointing 25 goals, he also had 36 assists. His career high in assists is 45. Take it from anybody who's watched the Leafs over the last 6 seasons, even Kessel's biggest detractors, the most underrated part of his game is his playmaking ability. But here's another thing you gotta keep in mind, Pittsburgh, and this is very important. You're on the frickin' clock. When the 2015-2016 NHL season begins, both Phil Kessel and Sidney Crosby will be 28 years old, and Evgeni Malkin will be 29. Marc-Andre Fleury will turn 31 less than 2 months into the season. And Chris Letang, oh that little guy, just turned 28. Your time to win is now. And I certainly wouldn't mind watching you hoist the Stanley Cup, because I think it would be nice to see, it would be a great story, and it would piss so many people off. Friggin' win the Stanley Cup in Pittsburgh and fly over to Toronto, walk up to a hot dog vendor, buy the whole stand and go, how's this for your damn hot dog? So best of luck, Phil. You're kinda weird, but you're really good at hockey. And Kasperi, I'm sorry for what Darcy Tucker did to your dad. Hey, look at that, a new Leaf with links to playoff memories.
Now to a developing story we're watching. A sure sign the Maple Leafs rebuild has begun. Toronto has traded its leading scorer. Phil Kessel is now a Pittsburgh Penguin. Shannon Martin joins us now live from the ACC. And Shannon, the Leafs president just finished speaking about this trade. What did Brendan Shanahan have to say?
Well, it was a message we've heard repeated a lot lately, and that is that a change was needed in the dressing room. You know, Mike, what a difference just 2 years make. When Phil Kessel signed that contract extension back then, he said Toronto was where he always wanted to be, and he wanted to finish his career here. Well, not so anymore.
I'm real excited to be Toronto Maple Leaf for the next 8 years. And
how quickly things change. Just 2 years into his mega $64 million contract, Phil Kessel is out.
And here's Kessel with it, who leads the Leaf in goals, and he gets another one.
Hands down the Leafs' best player traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Crosby and Kessel, that's going to be a good line.
Tough to replace the 30-goal scorer, so it's going to hurt the Leafs.
The long-speculated deal sees the Leafs losing Kessel, 2 other players, and a second-round draft pick. In return, Toronto gets a package of futures, 3 young players, and first- and third-round draft picks next season.
I think it's a great trade. Well, Toronto is in a rebuilding mode, and Pittsburgh's going for the cup.
We gave up a heck of a player, a very, very productive player. And again, like I said, I thank him very much for his time here.
Leafs president Brendan Shanahan reinforcing that a change was needed in the dressing room.
We didn't see that this group was going to get a whole lot better in getting us toward that goal. Once again, we've got to build this thing the right way through the draft with prospects.
The deal also leaves the Leafs on the hook for 15% of Kessel's salary, about $1.2 million for each of the next 7 seasons. Still, this analyst says that frees up big money for future moves.
It's a clear sign. It's going to be as painful as the Leafs have promised.
Chris Johnson says, as they were with Kessel, the Leafs next season will likely remain among the worst in the NHL without him.
The clear strategy the Leafs have is to acquire as many assets as they can, young assets. And I don't think they're done trading now to begin with. They're going to be a much younger team next season. There's no doubt about that.
A happy Canada Day, at least for this hockey fan.
They need to clean house, so they need to get rid of Kessel. They need to get rid of Phaneuf as well, as far as I'm concerned.
And there has been some chatter of that. Chris Johnston said today, though, it's his gut feeling that we won't lose Phaneuf because he says you need at least one well-known big-name guy in a uniform. But the team again saying today what they've long been promising, this is just the beginning of what will likely be a slow, even painful rebuilding process. Reporting live from the ACC, I'm Shannon Martin.
Many years ahead of that. Thank you, Shannon.
That is just something that our team thought that we needed. I don't think it has anything to do with his play. I think he's one of the best players in the league. But I think it was just a change in culture, like I said. And it's just a move into a new direction. He's going to score a lot of goals in Pittsburgh. He's a guy that the players in the team will miss. He's a good teammate. He's a good guy. He's going to do very well in Pittsburgh.